Welcome to the Imperfectionist Podcast. My name is David Rendell, and we have an exciting episode planned for you. That's our first imperfection of the podcast, getting started early with some stumbling over some words. So, my question for you today to get us started is pink a boy's color? A man's color? Or is it a woman's color? Is it a male color or a female color? So I've got a pink shirt on today. I've got an Inter Miami jersey on. My wife bought it for me for Father's Day. I got a pink one with black and then a black one with pink. And I love them both. And so you know where I stand on pink. But pink has an interesting history. So if you go to a gender reveal party in 2024, what'll happen is if the cake is pink or the poppers are pink or the smoke is pink or however they do it, the people are having a girl. And if it's blue, they're having a boy. But I've done a lot of research on pink for my book, Pink Goldfish 2.0, that I wrote with my friend Stan Phelps, who used to work in marketing for Adidas, or as he calls it, Adidas, and wearing an Adidas branded shirt here today. So he would be proud. He gets mad anytime I wear Nike. But what we learned was that it hasn't always been that way. We didn't always think of pink as a girl's color and blue as a boy's color, especially as it relates to what kids wear and how we identify that. So, what used to be the case, and still is that red is considered a very strong color. And so men would wear red, and specifically military men would wear red as a sign of strength. And still today, politicians will wear red ties, and that's what's called a power tie. Red is one of the colors that would be considered a power tie. And so red was considered this strong, manly, military color, and pink was basically light red. And so strong men wore red and boys wore pink because pink was the color for boys. And light blue was considered a dainty girl's color. And it was like that until the mid 1900s when it flipped completely and pink became seen as the girl's color and blue became seen as the boy's color. And that's the way it continues to be. Now, without getting involved in arguments about gender and all those kinds of things, it is clear, I hope, to most people that color itself does not have a gender and that wearing a certain color doesn't make you one gender or the other. But we still do associate colors with certain genders, and pink is definitely the color for women and girls, and blue is the color for men and boys. And even though obviously that has started to, I think, change in general culture, more blue is sold to guys and more pink is sold to women, if you just looked at the stats. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I've got a bunch of stories, and I'm wearing a pink shirt, so we're going to start with Pink Shirt Day. So I was at a conference called the Hero Roundtable Conference. I've spoken there many times. I would encourage you to check it out, HeroRoundtable.com. They put on a great conference started by Matt Langdon, and the goal was to stop bullying, reduce bullying, specifically in schools. And what they realized was you didn't just need to stop the bullies, you needed the people who were bystanders. The biggest problem with bullying is that people sit around and watch it happen and they don't help the people who are being bullied. And so Matt is and was on a mission to stop that and turn people into heroes instead of bystanders. And I was at one of those conferences, speaking at one of those conferences, when I met Travis Price. So Travis Price is from Canada, and he's got an interesting origin story. I'll take a little sip. You're going to notice something different here. Not drinking out of a Liquid Death cup today, drinking out of a Voodoo Donuts mug with a big hole in the middle, just like a donut has a hole in the middle. Um, mm, delicious and refreshing. So Travis Price is speaking at the conference, and as you know, I was already wearing pink when I met him, and he was there to talk about Pink Shirt Day. And I'm like, what's Pink Shirt Day? So when Travis was in high school, and Travis was either a junior or a senior, and there was a kid in ninth grade who would wear this pink polo golf shirt. I still call them polo shirts. That's what they called them back in the 80s, pink golf shirt. And this kid was getting bullied because he wore a pink shirt. In fact, one kid told him that he was going to beat him up if he ever wore that shirt to school again. So this kid's being abused simply because he's wearing a pink shirt to school. So Travis and one of his friends um, went to like a surplus store when they found out about this, and they bought 50 pink tank tops. They bought 50 pink tank tops, and they brought them back to school, and they just started handing them out to guys at the school. And so when this kid who'd been bullied for wearing the pink shirt came back to school, he saw 50 other guys wearing these pink shirts in solidarity with him. And certainly the bully learned that if you're going to pick on people for wearing pink shirts, you're going to have a lot of people to fight, and you're probably not going to win against 50 people wearing pink shirts, especially because they're some of the upperclassmen. And so that was the beginning of a movement called Pink Shirt Day, which started in Canada and now is a day that is observed. I don't know if you'd call it celebrated, but recognized and observed all over the world. And it started with Travis and his friend, I think David Shepard, I might be wrong about that, in Canada. And it's celebrated on the last Wednesday of February every single year. This year it was on February 28th, 2024. So it's been 15 plus years since it happened, and people are still observing Pink Shirt Day as a way to fight back against bullying and to teach people a lesson that we shouldn't be bystanders. We should be heroes, and we should stand up to bullying instead of standing back when we're watching it happen. And so that encouraged me even more to continue wearing pink and to continue pushing against people's expectations and mindset of what do men wear and what do women wear. You might think, oh, we're past that, or that doesn't really happen anymore. But I think that story shows that it does. I'll have people say to me, it's always men, and they'll see me wearing my pink pants, for example, and they'll say, I don't think I could pull that off. And I'm like, it's really a two-step process to wear pink pants. Step one is to buy some pink pants. Step two is to wear some pink pants. But what they're really saying is, I don't want to deal with the criticism or teasing, or in some cases, and probably not mostly with adult men, but the bullying or the ostracism that might happen if I go against the standard of the people around me and their beliefs about what men wear and what men don't wear. There's a quote that I like that says, "Deviance always generates external pressures to conform. When you perform beyond the norms, the systems will adjust and try to make you normal." So as the author of The Freak Factor, one of the reasons I wear pink is to practice what I preach and to show people that it's okay to go against the general expectations of society or the community or whatever particular group that you happen to be in. And also, I've discovered that a lot of people love it. And that it doesn't generate, nonstop criticism and resistance. It's actually a really small amount. Most people, I have full pink suits, head to toe pink suits. I'll wear that one time, and we'll talk about Appa Suits, which is a great company. and people will smile and tell me I've made their day, and they'll ask to take pictures with me. And it literally makes people happy. People stare at my pink car and they smile and they honk their horn and they wave and they slow down and they take pictures. And so pink has been a really positive addition to my life. But as you see with Pink Shirt Day, it still does generate resistance. I remember getting a Facebook message from one of my friends in that I knew from college, and this had been I've been out of college for coming up on 30 years, and she thanked me for wearing pink and serving as a role model for her son. And she'd been showing her son my videos online, not because of the message, but simply because I was wearing so much pink and he was being bullied. Her elementary school son, a school age son, was being bullied at school for wearing pink, and he really liked pink, and he didn't, wasn't making some statement about gender or anything else. He just liked it and thought it was okay to wear. And people were telling him, no, it's not okay for boys to wear pink. And so we were able to, and I talked to her and helped with that process. But just my example was encouraging to him and helped him see that he didn't have to give in to this pressure. Deviance always generates external pressures to conform. And when you perform beyond the norms, the systems will adjust and try to make you normal. So the kids at school were trying to get him to give up on the pink and try to be like everybody else. And I was working with his mom to help encourage and support him in this process. So this is not something that we're over. This is not something we're past. And it's not a small thing. When you're a child and you're at school and you're being bullied simply because you're wearing a certain color that doesn't go with people's idea of what kids of that gender should wear, that's a traumatic thing for someone to experience. So that's why I chose this for today, because I have a bunch of examples of this. And so another current example, and I feel terrible because I ask people to write in and stuff, but I get messages on Instagram and I get messages on Facebook and I get emails and I get text messages, and I can't remember where this one came in. I posted it on my story on Instagram immediately, but as you know, stories disappear. And so I forgot who got this to me, but there's a current example of this very thing, except instead of pink shirts, it's pink shorts. So the guy's name is Joe Slade. He's the father who posted this story. And his son was a high school track and field runner, and he liked to wear pink shorts on his training runs. But he would wear them every time on his training runs, and pretty soon he started getting harassed on social media for wearing pink shorts. And again, people were pushing back against that as not something that a real man or a strong man would do. And so his son had a choice to make. And is he going to keep wearing these shorts and getting harassed, or is he going to give in and just, put on some black shorts or some blue shorts or whatever? So it at least helped that he had his father's support. I loved his father's response when people would ask his dad about it. His dad would say, "Pink is the fastest color." I like that. I might start using that. I wear pink during all of my athletic endeavors. I've got an Ironman coming up in September in Wisconsin. And I mean, again, it's alive and well. I think I might have said this on another podcast, but I was wearing my triathlon shorts coming out of the ocean in Florida for an Ironman one time, and they're black with pink cherry blossoms on them. And a guy said, it looks like you accidentally put on your wife's triathlon shorts this morning. So people, even to your face, and again, even as adults, aren't afraid to attack you for simply wearing something that they don't think matches their idea of what someone like you should wear. So his son's wearing these pink shorts. He gets support from his dad, but then a local business owner, guy who owns a restaurant called Gold Burgers, like they make burgers, Gold Burgers, started offering a discount for any customers who would wear pink shorts. So just like in the Travis Price Pink Shirt Day story, it's a way to increase the number of people who are doing this particular thing that's getting somebody harassed. And then he bought pink shorts for all of his employees to wear as well. So now we're further increasing the number by making it a uniform. And the awesome ending to the story is that his son ended up winning the state championship in his pink shorts and proving that pink is indeed the fastest color. So this mindset, going back to the earlier question, that women wear pink and men wear blue, and that men don't wear pink, again, is precisely why I wear it. Is because if I'm going to talk about being different, it's one way that I can practice what I preach, and then I have firsthand experience with what happens when you do something that goes against the expectations of the people and the community around you. And so I had to take another sip of water there. Like I said, I've been training for my Ironman. And so earlier today, I did about 2,500 meters in the pool. And then I did a half marathon trail run. And then it was the afternoon. So I took a shower and now I'm recording the podcast. So I'm a little thirstier than usual. And I should have grabbed a big Liquid Death mountain water because this mug is pretty small and it has a giant hole in the middle. So it doesn't hold as much water. So I've asked you all to write in, and like I said, people have been doing it. And again, if you were the person who sent me the Joe Slade pink short story, please let me know so I can give you credit. But Thomas Sartor, who I actually met at a Hero Roundtable, and he actually is on the board for the Hero Imagination Project, which partners with the Hero Roundtable. And Thomas has done trainings all over the world. He speaks French. He has dual British and American citizenship. Very cool guy. He sent me this story. So if you follow soccer or football internationally, right before the Olympics was the European Championships, also known as the Euro, where kind of like a smaller version of the World Cup, just for Europe, and all of the European countries' soccer teams play each other for the championship. And Germany has never really gone away from having just their flag colors in their uniform: black, yellow, or red. And then sometimes they've done green, also sponsored by Adidas, which is, if you didn't know, a German company. And so they've always gone with those colors. And this year, 2024, they went with something vastly different from that and had a pink, mostly pink and slightly purple. It kind of faded. If you know what ombre is, I think that's what it's called. My wife's an interior designer. I think that's when you kind of gradually fade, a color from lighter to darker. So they have this pink, they call it a kit. I still struggle to say that. It's a jersey, right? A pink jersey for their soccer team for the European Championship. And it was not immediately appreciated by the public in Germany. There was a backlash on social media and in a lot of other formats, and people were calling it things like the Barbie kit and saying that it wasn't German to have a pink shirt for your soccer team. And again, we're really putting a lot on colors. The color doesn't represent your country. A color doesn't represent your gender. We're really putting a lot on a color. And so there was a lot of backlash and there was a lot of negativity about this jersey. And so they put out an advertising campaign, an ad campaign with some popular and successful German athletes talking about the pink kit and challenging maybe traditional ideas of what it means to be German, and supporting the idea of this pink jersey, this pink kit. And the pink jersey, pink kit went on to become the best-selling, fastest-selling Euro kit of all time in Germany. I tried to get one. That's why I'm wearing this one today. I tried to get one, and I haven't been able to find one online because it was such a popular jersey in the end, but had to push against ideas about what it means to be German, what it means to be strong, what it means to be probably masculine, successful, who knows what other kinds of ideas were being pushed into that. So, if you think, okay, we're past that, or nobody cares, or it doesn't matter, people do care. and it does matter. And pink still somehow elicits these negative ideas. This wasn't talked about in the story, but we did talk about it in Pink Goldfish 2.0. Pink also has kind of a stigmatizing um, reputation in Germany during World War II. Um, we know about the Holocaust, and people primarily think about the Jews, but I used to work with people with developmental disabilities, and Hitler was basically against anybody that he saw as inferior. And so people with any kind of developmental disabilities were exterminated and segregated, just like the Jews were, and also people who were gay or homosexual. And so the way that and I think you may have seen I think it's a yellow star that they use to sort of put on the clothing of Jews to sort of brand them as separate, and ultimately start separating them from the rest of the society and start stigmatizing them, and ultimately eliminating them for people who were gay or lesbian. The way of doing that was a pink triangle. So even pink, even at that time, had a stigmatizing reputation, and was meant to set people apart as less than other people. And so pink has a powerful impact on people, both positively and negatively, which is one of the reasons that I like it, and one of the reasons that I wear it. So a lot of those things all came together with that story from Thomas, and then again that story about Joe Slade's son, and then that reminded me of Pink Shirt Day, which was actually connected with Thomas. So I thought I would share all of those stories and examples today. So during the podcast, we always do a section called Not Sponsored By. And so one of the companies we are not sponsored by today is Voodoo Donuts. And so, delicious and refreshing. So Voodoo Donuts is awesome. They started in Portland. You can find them in a lot of other places now, but we like Portland with Pink Goldfish because one of their slogans is "Keep Portland Weird." And Voodoo Donuts is one of the hot attractions, interesting attractions, one of the unique things about Portland. And now they started spreading throughout the country. So I always stop at a Voodoo Donuts whenever I can. But one of the fun stories about Voodoo Donuts from Pink Goldfish 2.0 is that they were so creative with their donuts. For example, they have a maple bacon donut that actually has 2 strips of bacon on the top of it. They do a lot of really interesting donuts. They have a Fruit Loops donut with big pieces of Fruit Loops on it. They're not the traditional donut place. And pink is one of their primary colors. It's on their logo. It's on their signs. Their boxes are pink. And so we love them for that reason. And so they fit all of the criteria, but they're also using their weaknesses as strengths. They're also pushing against societal boundaries. And they actually got in trouble with the health department, not for, unsanitary conditions or anything like that, but they got so creative with their donuts that they ended up crossing a line. They had 2 different kinds of donuts. One was a NyQuil donut, and the health department said you can't be dispensing medicine in your donuts. That's not safe. And people need to understand when they're taking medicine that it might have certain effects. So they shut down the NyQuil donut. And they also did a Tums donut that had crushed Tums on top and a Pepto-Bismol inside as a sort of filling, I think. And the health department said that is also unacceptable. And so they actually got those donuts banned by the health department in Portland. And so that's one of the reasons that we like Voodoo Donuts. I'm also not sponsored by, this is one of my recent purchases, I'm not sponsored by Dr. Squatch. They are what would you call it? They sell soaps and shampoos. and I think colognes and stuff like that directed towards men. And they have a new one that I saw online, and so I grabbed it. It's called Fight Scrub, which is a play on Fight Club, which, if you remember, had a big sort of uh, soap that said Fight Club on it as the logo. And so I bought this pink bar of soap, Fight Scrub, and I'm loving it. And it smells great. And so I bought a couple extras so I could put them up here on our monument to pink. So I'm not sponsored by Dr. Squatch. I think it's pronounced like that, like Sasquatch. Um, and like I said, not sponsored by Inter Miami. So one of the interesting things that happened, I got another note from someone, and this person is actually behind the scenes of this podcast. Dan Ford is my wife's youngest brother. He's a fraternal twin. Dan and Jamie are the youngest of 5 kids in my wife's family. And Dan Ford has worked for, I think, more than 20 years for Road Trip Nation, which is a very cool company in California that helps people find their road in life and creates really cool videos that help people find what they want to do and how to find the right fit, how to find their element, like we talked about in a past episode. And Dan has a lot of skills with video and audio and editing. So he does all the editing for this podcast. He helped me set up this lighting. He tells me when I've messed it up and when I need to do it better. He helps me position the microphone. I think I've talked about him before. So I was out on a walk the other day and we're doing this fun, not sponsored thing. And he sent me this cool story. So there's a company in New York called Bandit Running, and they sell gear for runners. And what they noticed was during the Olympic trials and also at other times, but they noticed this specifically during the Olympic trials, there's a lot of athletes that aren't sponsored. Nobody knows who they are, or people are not predicting that they will be successful, even though they might end up being successful. And so these people don't have a sponsor, but on race day, they've got to wear something. And so they end up wearing their college gear, which is sponsored by Nike or Adidas or Puma or whatever. And so for all anybody knows, they are sponsored, but they're not getting any money. But nobody knows they need a sponsor. And so it's sort of this invisible problem, but Bandit Running understood that it was a problem. And so they created something called the Unsponsored Project, which is hilarious because we just were being silly with this idea of not being sponsored by. And they actually created a real program called the Unsponsored Project. And so what they do is they provide unsponsored athletes with gear, but the gear is just all black with no logos or anything else on it, which makes it clear that the athlete is unsponsored. Right. But it is Bandit Running gear, but it isn't even branded by Bandit. And by the way, if you're not in the running community, and certainly a lot of people aren't, a bandit, so even that name is a little bit of a freak factor thing. A bandit would normally be seen as a negative thing. A bandit is somebody who runs a race without paying for the race. So it's somebody who jumps in on the marathon or jumps in even to the 5K, or basically runs the race without paying the fee, without getting a number, without doing it the appropriate way, right? So even Bandit Running is a little bit of a play on a negative sort of thing. So I liked that right off the bat. So they're trying to help these athletes who aren't sponsored. They give them this all black, unbranded apparel, which really causes them to stand out because everyone else is sponsored. And so then the sponsoring companies can see very clearly who's sponsored and who isn't. And then if one of these athletes who's unsponsored has success at the trials, then companies know to approach them for potential sponsorship deals. It sends a signal to everyone that the athletes are looking for a sponsor. So I started this not sponsored by thing as sort of a silly thing, but this is what's so awesome about having people listen and write in and things like that, is there's so many amazing stories and examples that are happening out there, that there's a real life unsponsored project that actually helps athletes to find sponsors by making it clear that they are currently not sponsored by. And so maybe we'll have the same success with this podcast. Also, another listener sent in to me as a response to the 1 Stars episode. If you haven't listened to that, it's fantastic, about Amber Scher's book, Subpar Parks, where she talks about the 1-star reviews for different national parks in the United States. And now she's coming out with her new book, Subpar Planet. We're going to try to get her on an episode in the future. Somebody sent me on a train. There was an advertisement for the Bible app. You might not know the Bible has an app, but it said 0 stars. The rating was 0 stars, not even 1 star. I didn't even know you could do 0 stars. 0 stars for the Bible app, and the reviewer was Satan. So I thought that was clever, regardless of your religious beliefs. That's a funny way to get the Bible app out there. 0 stars from Satan. Hey, the Bible apparently isn't liked, certainly by everyone. So I think we'll add one that we're not sponsored by this week. We are not sponsored by Adidas, that makes this Inter Miami shirt that I'm wearing, this jersey that I'm wearing. And we're also not sponsored by Adidas. And they're the same ones that make the Germany kit that we were talking about earlier. So we'll add that we're not sponsored by Adidas. And that's perfect, because our shoe of the day is an Adidas indoor soccer shoe. And what I thought was interesting was this is pink. And my earliest pink shoes, when I started this journey 15 years ago, trying to find and wear pink stuff, it was hard to find pink shoes for men. It was they were almost non-existent. And I could hardly ever find any. And if I ever found any, I would just buy them. I didn't care sort of what they looked like or anything like that. I just needed them to fit. And so things have changed a lot, where there's a lot more pink shoes on the market. But that's one of the reasons that I chose to show these off today. These Adidas indoor soccer pink shoes is because my earliest, in fact, my probably first 3, 4, 5 pairs of pink shoes were all indoor soccer shoes, because manufacturers were thinking what we talked about earlier, which is that men don't wear pink shoes, so they weren't offering pink shoes for men. So these are called the X Speed Portal .4 Turf. This is not an easy name. X Speed Portal .4 Turf. So yeah, they're like indoor or if you're playing on turf instead of on natural grass, there for that. But what was interesting is they're unisex soccer shoes. So you just click men or women, and that just changes the way the sizing works. But the shoe itself is a unisex shoe. And so part of what Adidas is saying with that shoe is, hey, you can wear it if you're a man, you can wear it if you're a woman. It doesn't matter. We think anybody might like this. And pink is not a men's color. Pink is not a women's color, and it'll go great with your Inter Miami jersey or your Germany Euro kit. So this is a shorter edition of the Imperfectionist podcast. Well, you know what? It's still going to be shorter, but we're going to add one thing. So the Olympics is starting when this comes out. We'll be right in the middle of the first week of the Olympics. And just, not sponsored by Adidas. So we're going to talk about Nike here for a minute. So if you've been watching any of the Olympics, you've probably seen the new Nike ad. And the Nike ad is called, "Am I a Bad Person?" So if you haven't seen this ad, you can check it out. Just Google, "Am I a Bad Person?" Nike ad. It's on YouTube and everything else. I'm going to read a little bit of it to you. So basically, they have all of these Nike branded athletes, from basketball to soccer to wheelchair sports, all sorts of different athletes, tennis. And these are big names, LeBron James, the new one, Victor Wembanyama. And they're showing those players in the background while the narrator continues asking this question. And I can see him in my head, but I can't remember his name. I think he plays Green Goblin in Spider-Man. Maybe I'll get it by the time I'm done with that, or I'll have to look it up. So I'll read it to you just so you get the idea. But this is a great Freak Factor advertisement because it says, "Am I a bad person?" And then it starts describing their idea of what it probably takes to be one of these people who goes to the Olympics, which is a very hard thing to even do, to go to the Olympics, but also to succeed at the Olympics, at athletics at a really high level. So it says, "Am I a bad person? I'm single minded. I'm deceptive. I'm obsessive. I'm selfish." Notice how it's using all negative characteristics, but obviously with the implication that there's probably an upside to being this way if you want to succeed at a high level in sports. Does that make me a bad person? I have no empathy. I don't respect you. I'm never satisfied. I have an obsession with power. I'm irrational. I have zero remorse. I have no sense of compassion. I'm delusional. I'm maniacal. Do you think I'm a bad person? I think I'm better than everyone else. I want to take what's yours and never give it back. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. Am I a bad person? And then the last 20 seconds or so is just scenes of all these people who've been playing their sport being sort of victorious or successful in that sport, which is sort of answering the question, no, I'm not a bad person. I'm an amazing athlete. And then the tag at the end is that winning isn't for everyone. Right. So I just thought that was a fantastic advertisement that's perfect for the Freak Factor, challenging the idea of, is this a strength or a weakness? And arguing that these things that sound like weaknesses, and remember, we've talked about alignment a bunch of times, these things that sound like weaknesses are actually strengths in certain situations and might even be required for success in certain situations like athletics. So also not sponsored by Nike today. So check that ad out while you're watching the Olympics. Another thing we'll follow up on with the Olympics probably next time is just pay attention. One of the people I like to follow on Instagram is Alona Mar. She's a female U.S. Rugby player. Women's U.S. rugby player. Alona Mar is spelled Ilona, and then her last name is Maher. And she is big, and she is strong, and she has strong arms, and she has powerful shoulders, and she has huge back muscles, and she isn't built like your traditional idea of a woman. She doesn't have the stereotypical woman's body. And one of the things she posted the other day, and I reposted it on Instagram, was all body types are good at the Olympics. Simone Biles is 4'9", and that small size is precisely a strength. It makes her more successful in gymnastics than someone who would be taller, because of just even the physics of gymnastics requires a very being shorter is an advantage, just like it's been an advantage in being a jockey. We understand that it's also an advantage in gymnastics. I think the tallest gymnast to ever compete in the women's gymnastics in Olympics was 5'5", and she was considered a giant at 5'5". And then women's volleyball players, meanwhile, are 6 foot, 6'8", 6'9", 6'6", and the female shot putter would be tall and be probably even bigger than Alana, who plays rugby. And so it's not a good body or a bad body. It's the body, it's alignment, the body that matches the thing that you're trying to do. I stopped playing soccer early in high school and started focusing on basketball because I was growing very, very tall. And although you can find some outliers who are tall in soccer, mostly only goalies are tall in soccer, and it's not considered a huge advantage. And oftentimes smaller, quicker people are more successful in soccer than taller people. And so I moved to a situation where I had an advantage. And we'll talk more about this. I read a book called The Sports Gene by a guy named David Epstein, and he made a point about how in the early part of the 1900s, Olympians all kind of looked the same. They're kind of the same height and the same weight, and they were muscular in kind of the same ways. And they had kind of that idea of that perfect, like Greek, which is where the Olympics came from, that sort of Greek statue kind of body where you're muscular in all the same kind of ways. ESPN, I think, has done a good job with this, with the body issue that they put out for years in their magazine. I don't think they do that anymore. Maybe they do it digitally. And they show you, baseball bodies aren't like basketball bodies, and football bodies aren't like golf bodies. And a lot of people have parts of their body that don't look like peak physical fitness. Patrick Mahomes has won multiple Super Bowls as the quarterback for the Chiefs, and he's been roasted online for kind of having a dad bod. He doesn't have a six pack. He's got some love handles. He looks a little soft and doughy, and yet he's he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time in the NFL at a very young age, and might become the best quarterback of all time, and certainly has won more Super Bowls than most people ever will. And he's just getting started. And so something to think about as you watch the Olympics is, what's a good body? And the answer is, a good body is a body that does what you need it to do for the thing that you're trying to do, the sport that you're in. And that's going to look different in a variety of situations. And so, not only on this episode do I want to challenge your idea of, what should certain kinds of people wear and not wear, and what do colors mean and all those kind of things, but I think it's also worthwhile to challenge perceptions of what is a good body, what is attractive body. And again, I think that's going to mean different things in different situations. And I think it's worth noticing, if you watch the Olympics, just the difference in the way people are built. There's no such thing as the perfect athlete or the perfect body for athletics. It's all very specific to the kind of thing that somebody's doing. And it isn't well-rounded and well-balanced, which is oftentimes what we talk about. For example, in certain track and field activities, like I said, like shot put and things like that, the person is going to actually be unbalanced on purpose because they're using, and everybody's body is almost like that. If you're right-handed, the right side of your body, even if you work really hard at it, is probably going to be a little bit stronger because you just naturally use it all day, every day, more than you use the left side of your body because you're right-handed. And so well-balanced and well-rounded, perfect isn't the goal. You want to be imperfect in the ways that are perfect for the particular sport that you're in. So keep an eye on that while you're watching the Olympics, and notice that. So what David Epstein says in The Sports Gene is that the range of body types has changed dramatically over the last 100 years. And the tallest people in the Olympics are now much, much taller than they ever used to be. And the shortest people in the Olympics are much, much shorter than they used to be, because everybody is finding that edge by matching the body that they have, or the body they can develop, but things like height and stuff like that you can't develop, to the particular sport. Also, Olympic committees have started to look at people differently, and they've started to select people to maybe cross over from one sport to another because they recognize this person has the perfect characteristics. Again, I'll have to do some research before the next episode, but I know Australia did this with some success, with bringing people into, I think, their rowing team. Because people who'd been athletes in other sports and had a certain kind of height and a certain kind of build, and were already athletic, had a lot of the prerequisites for success. And so the Olympic Committee stopped just working with the people they had and actually started seeking out people that were the right fit for the particular sport, because they were getting so clear on what's the perfect sort of body or build or set of characteristics to have for that particular sport. So keep an eye on that alignment when it comes to the Olympics. So pink shirts, pink shorts, they're not just for girls, they're also for boys. They're also for European soccer players. In fact, that reminds me of a funny story, and you'll know that it isn't true because we just saw how a European country responded to a pink jersey for their men's soccer team. But I was wearing a pink shirt and pink pants and pink shoes for a huge presentation at the Gaylord Texan in Texas back in, I think, 2015 for Vern Harnish's Scaling Up Summit, the Fortune Growth Summit. There were about 1,500 business owners there. We had the whole room. They were all at tables. It was one of the coolest stages I've been on, and actually went out into the crowd so you could get out closer to the crowd. It wasn't just across the front. 2 huge screens behind me, and I'm wearing all pink. And some guy came up to me afterwards. It was in Texas, and he was clearly from Texas. And he goes, "I saw you this morning in your pink shirt, your pink pants, and your pink shoes." He goes, "I couldn't figure out what you were up to." He goes, "I decided you must be European or something." Uh, so he didn't have a way to understand what I was doing. So he decided I must be from a foreign country, and that would explain my pink. I've spoken multiple times in Europe, and that's definitely not the case. And they think it's very funny that somebody from America thinks everybody over there in Europe is wearing, that all the men are wearing pink. And so that is definitely not the case. So pink shorts, pink shirts, you can wear them if you're a man, you can wear them if you want to. Encourage your kids to be heroes instead of bystanders. And I hope those stories were encouraging to you to see basically how to do it. You can step in and actually be like the person who is being persecuted instead of being like the person who's doing the persecuting. And I hope that's encouraging for you. So that's it for this episode of the Imperfectionist Podcast. I hope you're enjoying the Olympics. I hope you're enjoying your summer, and we will talk to you next time. I'm David Rendell. Have a great day.